Good morning. This is Brian with the Trial and Error live stream. Back for another Tuesday. I'm flying solo for a little bit today. Fearless had some stuff he had to take care of, and so we're going to get through here. My name is Brian Hill. I run a marketing agency called I Sell Words and a video business called The Media Room. I help business owners figure out where they need to show up on social media to get the money that they're looking for. I also work with people who aren't business owners. Like if you're trying to use social media to advance in your career some way, shape, or form, I'd love to sit down and talk to you. That's what I got running. And so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit your boy up. I got a couple of different ways to engage. And so leave a comment or tag me in it and let me know. The best way to reach me is my email, which is mail, MAIL at isellwords.com. So that's what I got. Like I said, Fearless will be joining us shortly. Here's the thing. I'll put my email up there just so you guys can see it if you guys are interested. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about the cult of having things. Because I feel like, especially when we're dealing in sometimes the economic softness or whatnot, things aren't going exactly the way we want to. It's always a good time to step back and look at how we perceive acquisition of stuff and experiences in our daily lives, and how much we're being driven by to validate the feelings of people that don't necessarily align with us, benefit us, put money in our pocket. So this episode is about the cult of having things. It's not about just buying things or not just having nice things, but the pressure to prove your life through what you own, where you go, what you wear, what you drive, what you post online, what experiences you display. And so I think that's an important conversation to have specifically. I have a couple of things in real life that kind of prompted this. Most notably, it was being online and seeing they were talking about infamous internet guy. What's his name? What's the boy's name? Hey, I can see his face. Anyway, the guy who was in Romania had the sex trafficking charges and was in the manosphere, Andrew Tate and his brother. Andrew Tate and his brother are actually encountering some financial difficulties of their own, doing all their pending court cases and kind of being trapped in Romania and losing subscribers on the scam thing that they set up. And I've talked to people who've been through a system. It's really just digital marketing. If that's something you're interested in, you can always hit me up. I'll teach you some of the same stuff. But what's happening is he went online and showed like he was flashing, and a lot of his stuff was to young men. That's why he got a lot of young men in his pipeline. He flashed all these signs, outward signs of wealth. Okay. All these signs of wealth and things along those lines to really lure young men in. The fancy cars, the attractive women, the big houses, lots of cash. He was big into showing off his gun collection. And then he would say some incendiary stuff to really capture their attention. It's really just a marketing ploy. But the reality is he was displaying all this stuff and seeing kids online react to saying, well, now he's having financial difficulties. A young man specifically stuck out in my mind was talking about, well, he has all these cars and all these exotic cars. You telling me he can't sell those and get back up? And people like, you poor kid. He doesn't own any of that stuff. These are all rentals. And the bills always come due on rentals. He's flashing all of this stuff as part of his marketing machine. He displays all the signs of opulence and wealth and success, and that's how he gets people, because they want to live the same life that he's living, and so they just display it all the time without really showing the back door. Like I said, there are plenty of people, there are plenty of social media influencers that are emptying their bank accounts to take these expensive vacations, and while they're there, they're entire, it's like a working vacation. They don't relax. All they do is just take pictures and videos of themselves doing different things so they can post those videos throughout the year to make it look like they're on vacation all the time. And the fake it till you make it ethos of the internet, people see them on vacation and see they're constantly posting clips of their vacation. They assume they're always on vacation. And so as soon as it's time to ask for the money, they're like, well, this person has all the outward trimmings of success. I'm going to put money in their pocket because they look to be successful, even though they're really not. They've cultivated this image. We've talked about it with Ty Lopez. Like I said, Andrew Tate and his brother are kind of going through it, and it's just interesting to see how people react to it because they actually believe what's happening in real life. They believe that this what they believe that he really has money, and they're kind of confused about the fact that he doesn't. He has more money than I do, but from a perspective of the life that he's selling people and the dream that he's selling people, he really doesn't. And so this falls into the cult of having things. Okay. Um, and so the question is, are you living your life or are you collecting evidence that your life looks good? There's a difference there, y'all. And I think what happens is specifically when we start the comparison game on social media, it becomes really, really easy to compare your life to somebody's highlight reel. Because that's really what Instagram really is somebody's highlight reel. They show all the best moments of their life, all the things that are the peak experiences of their life, and they display it on social media. And people think that that's what their normal average is. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. We're talking about the cult of having things. So, if you got any observations on it, go ahead and drop them in the chat. But yeah, they end up comparing their regular life to somebody's highlight reel, and you start feeling like your regular life is inadequate. Well, you can buy stacks of money. You can buy fake money and display it. That's not hard. You can buy those on Amazon. You can lease cars. You can lease very expensive cars, you know, and pretend like they're yours. That's not hard. You can even rent homes. People are doing the Airbnb thing just to shoot content so they can say, "Yeah, I just bought this home." Last week we talked about the entire cult of personality around personalities like Cheyenne Bryant. Her entire cult of personality is built around the cult of having things. Um, every time you see her interviews or whatnot, the stuff I've had to take in to know who I'm talking about, it's always about what she owns and what she possesses and how she is the youngest black person to have this house or this storefront or whatever in this exclusive neighborhood, and showing a lot of the outward displays of having money. And that was enough to get people to invest and want to invest in her. You see it all the time. It's an old marketing thing, guys. And um, not saying that she's not successful at what she does, but be really cognizant of more times than not, people cultivate what they look like on social media to impress people that don't matter and don't make any difference and don't put any money in their pocket. A lot of people are spending a lot of money to look good for people that will never pay them or interact with them in any way, shape, or form. Okay. And so, and that's an empty feeling. Like a couple years ago, with my marketing agency, the one I run, and we decided to go to Vegas for a marketing conference. And so we fly into Vegas. We're staying in the fancy hotel where the conference is, walking around, just kind of doing the Vegas thing. For me, it was kind of a sensory overload, but it is what it is. So we're walking around Vegas, and I'm looking around and looking people in the face, and all these super rich people, because we're in the expensive hotel. All these people that have means, they're walking around looking miserable. I've never seen so many miserable looking people in my life, where it's not they look disheveled or anything, they look sad. I saw so many sad looking people walking around Vegas in this very expensive hotel, um, coming out of the expense, like it was connected to the mall, where they had a little mini mall that was nothing but high end, super designer wear and stuff like that. Um, you know, and just walking around and seeing all these really attractive, rich people living life where they're supposed to be living life on the highest level, and they just look sad. And it's hard to explain to people that you can kind of peep that when you pay attention, like you're looking at people's faces and they don't look happy. They look like, I'm here. This is what the Vegas experience is. You're supposed to be rich in Vegas, and they're going through the motions there. And so, again, this is not a post about not having nice things or having the trappings of success. If that's what you like, that's cool. But what we have is people buying a lot of access and spending a lot of money on things that they don't necessarily like, um just to check a box, right? Just to impress other people, you know. And more times than not, you're living your life for an audience of one person, maybe a couple of other people that are rooting for you or dependent on you. But that's what I'm seeing. And so, like I said, walking around Vegas, all these rich people, it's all people sitting at the high rollers table, you know, just with the saddest look on their faces, bro. Like the person is not having a good time in Sin City. It was crazy. Yeah. So, like I said, this is not an anti-nice things. All right. So I want to be clear on that. I'm not talking about not having nice things. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things and nice experiences. There's nothing wrong with wanting to travel. Okay. There's nothing wrong with buying stuff that you enjoy. Okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting beauty or comfort or pleasure or things that make you happy. Okay. The problem is when the thing stops being for you and you're presenting to an audience of people that don't matter. And I think that's kind of what the internet conditions us to do. Again, I've seen so many people get out here and live these fabulous lives and then be miserable behind the scenes because they're really trying to impress people that don't move the needle for them emotionally, financially, or anything. They're trying to impress an audience of onlookers. And oftentimes, like I said, I've seen it where the internet celebrities will get on there and flash all the displays of wealth and everything. More time that they're trying to rope you into something that they're trying to sell. Okay. Um, but oftentimes I see people emulating that lifestyle just to do it online. You know, guys my age going out and spending inordinate amounts at the bar just so they can show it on social media to a bunch of people that don't care. um, People going out and doing weird things for attention just to say that they had the experience. I saw those kids that ran on the court because NBA game one of the NBA finals where they ran on the court just to take a selfie, and now they're barred from games forever, and they'll never have the experience to be able to take their kid to an NBA game, out of something they did in the spur of the moment. That's not really going to matter. The internet's memory of stunts like that is really, really short. And so they'll be out of the news cycle. Like they're already out of the news cycle. I actually had to say, remember those guys? They're out of the news cycle right now. But now they're barred from life from ever going to an NBA game, bro. For the moment, for the vibes, because they wanted to show it off on social media. We weren't really supposed to have this level of access to people's incomplete thoughts, oftentimes. And I think social media kind of plays to that spur of the moment kind of thing. Okay. So I want you to go out and buy the things you enjoy, but make sure that you're doing it for you and not for the internet. Because we see too many things for the internet. And the internet takes, but it never really gives. Okay. It will take your self-esteem. It will take your respect. It will take some people's mental health. It will never give you anything else. It will never give it back to you. Okay. So if you want the beauty and comfort, if you like taking vacations, then take the vacation if you can swing it, right? But don't do it just to impress somebody online. Okay. So like I said, the problem starts when the thing stops being coming to you. The problem starts when you purchase things just to perform for the online audience. We see that a lot in the mom, the mom space online, where you have these like we'll have women that are kind of showing lifestyle stuff, and they're showing off a lifestyle that they aspire to, not the one they actually live. And at some point, I'd imagine that the disconnect between constantly acting like you have this lifestyle that you want versus one that you actually have, I feel like the disconnect would probably be pretty maddening after a while. Like you lose your mind doing that you know. But a lot of the mom influencers, I see them in that space. That's why you find a lot of social media influencers. The burnout is a real thing because you can't for a long time live in a way that doesn't align with who you really are without some mental toll being extracted. And I see that's why you start seeing a lot of these influencers online. They burn themselves out because they're portraying a character some aspirational version of who they want to be. Either they burn themselves out or they end up becoming a caricature of themselves. And then you look no further than a guy like Mr. Beast, who has all the trappings of social media success, but yet he's still tied to the numbers of who's watching his stuff. And even his numbers have taken a hit. And he's trying to find ways to boost his numbers because views are down across the board, because his content, the content that he is creating, had its time in the sun, but people are looking for something new and different right now. And so now he's even in that pivot mode. And he's like, I think, the first YouTube billionaire, if that makes sense. And even he's doing focus groups and things along those lines to try to figure out what is going on with his normal audience of people. And even when you see him, like you see Mr. Beast in interviews and then you see him in videos, these are two different people. This is not the same individual. One is, I'm turned up for my social media audience, and so this is the person I have to be on camera. And the other person is the thoughtful person that is actually thinking about his content and thinking about his business. These are not the same person. And I imagine at some point that does take a toll on you, because he's still a pretty young guy. Imagine at some point that's got to take a toll on you, especially if you're doing the parenting thing, where a parent kind of forces you to be different versions of yourself for your kids, to be the person your kids need in that moment. Sometimes you have to, it's not putting on a persona, but it's shifting into a different part of your personality. I'd imagine that separation and the personality ends up becoming more of a challenge as you start getting older. But I'm kind of off on a tangent here. Okay. The cult of having things. So if you're in the chat or if you want to comment, drop some things that you see online where people are kind of fronting to try to either get people to buy from them, or some experiences you've had where somebody is faking the funk and pretending to be something they're not for no reason, for an audience of people that don't care. Like, drop some examples if you have them in the chat. I'd love to talk about them. Hi, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, today is the cult of having things. We're going to talk about people that are faking it on the internet to impress people that don't matter. That's the world we live in. Okay. So the next piece is, the internet's kind of turned life, like you're living life in this fishbowl or a display case, where social media has kind of changed the way people experience their own lives, where they experience their own lives through the filter of social media. So they are choosing vacation spots based on how social media feels about it. You're choosing restaurants based on what social media says about it. You're choosing things that you purchase based on what people are doing on social media. Um, and I get it. You want to get other people's opinions and takes on things, but there comes a layer where um, at some point you got to do things for you. Okay. And so social media's kind of made it so that people just don't do things just to do things anymore. They got to package them, they got to post them, they got to narrate them, they got to compare them. Um, you don't do things for the sake of for your own enjoyment. You're doing it for people's edification outside of it, where they got to validate you outside of it. Okay. I've seen it in the car space where people buy cars that they can't really afford. Um, just so that they can post it on social media, showing what car they have. Anybody sees me, my car is old. And I'm a car guy. I like cars, but at the same time, the car isn't more important than other stuff I got going on. And at some point, the car is just a point A to point B kind of thing. I liked it when it was new, but that's because it's old doesn't mean I'm getting rid of it. Okay. So people narrate them, compare. They don't have these experiences in a bubble. Okay. Vacation is no longer a rest, it's a performance. You got to get up there and show the world that you're on vacation, which I never understood. Just being old enough to say, I don't want to show people when I'm out of town and when nobody's at my house. I will post the clips from the vacation after I get back to the crib. I don't want to give the signal, hey, Brian's out of town, let's go break it to us. Nah, bro, I'm cool on that. But I've seen people do it all the time. Live streaming. I'm live streaming from Mexico. My house is wide open. Show up. Take what you want. Money under the bed. Like, I've seen people post like that. And there's this weird disconnect. Like, you almost forget that you're talking to real people on the other end of social media. They end up becoming your audience. They end up becoming faceless. Okay. And so the vacation is no longer just about resting and recharging. It becomes proof that your life is interesting enough to pay attention to. For the longest time, before Elon Musk ruined Twitter, I didn't have I had a Twitter account that I never posted on because I'm like, I'm not interesting enough to post on this thing. And I stuck by that. I would comment, I would reshare stuff, but I never really post on stuff. I never really posted things, for a long time because I didn't quite know what the platform was. I'm not interesting enough to post for in the character account. I couldn't really post, my ADHD will get started with the speech and everything, and I go off on all kinds of tangents. I can't fit that character account. Okay. And so the vacation becomes life proof that your life is interesting. A new car isn't just transportation. It becomes proof that you're moving up the economic ladder. And at the end of the day, who is this for? Are you doing it for you? I had to step out of that world. In my old life, I had kind of climbed to as far as I was going to go on the corporate ladder. And I had, you know, done everything that I wanted to in that world. I was working in residential youth care or whatnot. And I had pretty much gone to the top of the ladder as far as I wanted to go, where I was really calling the shots in my own program with my own staff and doing my own thing. And I had reached that point um, in my early 30s. Like I invested my 20s. Like I tell people a lot of times, I didn't have 20s. My 20s were me trying to climb a corporate ladder. From like the time I was 21, 22 years old, I was actually actively working to jockey in position and climb this invisible corporate ladder to get the brass ring. And when I finally had managed to do all that stuff in my 30s and doing it within my own ethical code without backstabbing anybody, um, I got there and I grabbed the brass ring and it felt empty. This thing I had been doing for almost 20 years, it felt like I'm here now. Now what? There's still things I want to do. I still want to write a book. I still want to do creative stuff. And I've won this part of life. So where's my prize? And I had to start looking externally. What did I do all this for? I did this to, validate that Black excellence thing that a lot of guys at my age were kind of saddled with, where your parents were uh, still lived under segregation, and so they lived through the civil rights era, and so they went from being able to not access huge chunks of society to be able to access huge chunks of society, and the kids became kind of the testing ground for that. The entire Black excellence lunch brunch crowd, that's my age, that's my demographic. Your parents were in the civil rights era, were kids or young adults are in the civil rights era, and so they lived through segregation, and so for their kids, they want their kids to go live the life that they didn't have access to. And I took that hook, line, and sinker. All the you're never going to be anything without a college degree. You need to go out and get this middle class ideal life and go chase all that stuff. I lived all that, and I was driven to climb just to climb. I was driven to climb up this ladder of my career just to please other people, so other people could be proud of me. And once I got to the top of that thing, I look back, I'm like, oh, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I'm happy with at all. I was actually happier working on the front lines, interacting with the kids on a daily basis. That's the part that actually brought me life, you know. But I've done climbed all the way to the top of this, and now it feels empty. I think that's what happens when you start living your life for those brass rings and things that other people you live your life for things that other people value, and you don't really do it because it's what you wanted to do. I internalized the message that, hey, I'm climbing this thing because this is what I want to do, but I did it so that I could prove something, some pay off some debt to people that came before me. So, um, so climbing the economic ladder is kind of what people want to do. They want to display that they are successfully winning capitalism. That's what it is. I am winning capitalism. Like, that's the game. And I don't want to turn it into one of these social, like a hardline social commentary thing, but I think a lot of things that we do are inspired by winning the game of capitalism and showing everybody that we're winning the game. Um, and if you can't take a vacation to a place that you like because you like it and it relaxes you, then what's the point of having all that money? If you can't buy the thing that you like because it doesn't match a vibe or aesthetic that you're trying to craft around yourself, this mystique of you, this brand of you, um, what's the point of having the money? If you can't buy the things, if you can't buy the things that make you happy, just because it doesn't fit the aesthetic or vibe that you've cultivated around your personality online, what's the point of that? What joy is to be found in that? Just proof that you won the game of capitalism, and that's at some point that ends up becoming a hollow kind of win. Like, it's not motivated by what you want, it's motivated by what other people think of you. Okay. So a dinner out is no longer just a meal. It becomes proof that you are outside, chosen, social, and striving and thriving. I have to take a picture of my food and post it online to the people that are invested enough to scroll through my social media feed. I've never understood that, but it's a weird social thing that I see every time we go out to dinner. Somebody has to take a picture of their food and post it as proof that you are outside eating things, I guess. You could be a food blogger, and if that's your career, that's cool. But I've seen people that are not food bloggers just take a picture of their food to post it online to people that can say, "Ooh, that looks good," and that's it. There's no purpose on it otherwise to rope people into investing in it and emotionally in it. Okay, um, and so this is part of the cult of having things. This is where it starts. We're constantly seeking outside validation for the things that you like to do. And at some point you are actually not doing things that you enjoy because it doesn't jibe with the aesthetic of life that you've created for yourself. Okay. And so possessions as identity. People use possessions to answer identity questions. Okay. Those are questions like, am I successful? Am I desirable? Am I respected? Am I behind? Do people see me as enough? And I see it specifically because I was fortunate enough to grow up in the era where I existed before online stuff, but I'm not old enough where it doesn't make sense to me. And so, and what they call the analog childhood, digital adulthood. That's kind of the place I live in. And I see people behind me where their entire social network is actually online. Like a lot of people that interact with is basically in an online space. And so the way that they show off what they're doing and show that they're a real person is by doing these things to show, am I successful? Am I desirable? Am I respected? Am I behind relative to where my peers are? Um, if you're 21, 22 years old out here, and you're, um, doing the thing and enjoying the life that you're living and making the money to pay for what you need to pay for, and you're comfortable, you don't need to compete with these people online. These same 21-year-olds online are selling you a dream. Seeing it all the time, doing real business, helping businesses integrate, technology and AI or whatever into their business workflow. I've seen it all the time where people get sold this bill of goods from YouTube about how you can be the one person $2 million business by yourself, and all you got to do is buy this this basket full of digital tools and you're going to magically become that. And people get sold that bill of goods all the time, and a lot of it is, I just want to show that what I'm doing matters, and I'm showing you why. You're trying to give people evidence of why they should care about you. Um, and I think for some reason that can kind of, for you, people should care about you because you are you, right? People that you're involved with on a daily basis should value you as a person without all this other stuff online, without all these other signals online that you are a person existing. And unfortunately, the cult of uh, having things will not allow for that. You got to constantly validate yourself and validate your existence online. It's kind of a sad commentary, but that's where we're going. I've seen grown men, like when I say grown men, I've seen guys my age doing the validation game online, bro. Like it's crazy, crazy work. Where they're showing wads of cash and cars and all this other stuff that you really shouldn't be caring about. You know, getting mad because somebody did something online that you didn't like, when your friends did something online that you didn't like, and falling out behind that. Like there's a lot of other places where this shows up, and it's not just kids that are falling victim to it. There are people that are my age that are getting sucked into it. That's how a lot of these like pig butchering scams work online. Pig butchering, if you don't know, is a social engineering thing where somebody establishes a fake relationship with you online and then starts asking you for money. And they pretend to be your friend. And there's always a reason why they need more money. And the idea is the pig butchering is they do it slow so that there's always meat left on the bone. So they ask for money here, ask for money here, ask for money here, ask for money here. And they pretend to care about you or get you emotionally invested in their lives. And that's how they extort you. It involves a lot of that online validation of self, external validation, where somebody external to you cares about you online, you know, and they get sucked into it, fake friendship, it always starts out with that text from, hey, how you doing, from some stranger that you've never met before. And once you say, I don't know you, that's how they hook you in. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but it does fall into it. A lot of online scams, they involve establishing a rapport and relationship with you. When we think about internet hackers and computer hackers, the movies have us thinking of some guy on a computer typing away and hacking into data centers, or hacking into some database somewhere and getting information. Most online scams are you soft targets, and you are the soft target. You and your emotions are the soft target. And so they use social engineering to rope you in. That's the entire pig butchering scam. They establish a fake friendship with you, a fake relationship. It could be even a fake romantic relationship with you. And then they just bleed you dry. Always asking for something. Hey, my rent's due. I'm about to get evicted. Hey, this is due. I'm about to get evicted. Hey, I need money to get from point A to point B. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my job. They keep asking and asking and asking for all these things. And the person on the other end keeps doing it. And they keep giving it. And the ask just become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where somebody's paying for a whole wedding to a person that doesn't necessarily exist. And oftentimes they found they're using the way that they use it. There's even darker aspects of the pig butchering where they're essentially kidnapping people, forcing them to work on these call centers to do it. So both ends are being victimized. They'll hold their passport and say, you won't get your passport until you make a certain number of calls. And then that certain number of calls always goes up. And so, but yeah, that's how they do it. They use the online seeking validation, this online seeking validation thing to constantly build a rapport with you, and then they bleed you dry. That, like I said, that's called the pig butchering scam. And hey, Fearless,
Hey, what's up, Bruce?
what's going on? Uh,
Nothing much.
we're talking about having the cult of having things online, and how people can't
The what now?
cult of having things.
The cult of having things?
Yeah, where people feel like they have to online, they have to display, like, you can't take a vacation anymore. You basically are your own private videographer, where you have to show everything you're doing on your vacation while you're on vacation. um you see it online all the time on Instagram and stuff. um Even down to the person that has to take a picture of their food and post it online all the time before they eat. When they go out to dinner, they got to take a picture of it, say, this is what I'm eating, like it's proof of life. And they have to have the validation of their audience to enjoy the experience. Um, where I think the conversation kind of started with me talking about what the Tate brothers are doing, what they're experiencing
Mm-hmm.
right now, where Andrew Tate and his brother They built this entire career in the manosphere, telling young men how they have to be towards women and all this other stuff. And they would always show all their money and the villas and the houses and all the girls in bikinis and the cars and everything. Well, now they're under investigation and their money's drying up. People aren't enrolling in their courses the same way. People aren't renewing for the digital courses that they sold. And so now they're in financial distress. And so this young man online was like, no, man, they got all these cars. They got exotic cars, man. I mean, how they broke when they got exotic cars? And people are like, oh, you poor kid. You poor kid. Them cars are rented.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't their cars. They can't rent them cars and get back
they're
up.
leased. Yeah.
They're leased cars. The house is leased. All those bills come due. The reason why they have all that stuff is to trap you in to give them the money. And apparently they haven't been using the money the right way, because if they had been using the money to build a nest egg, they would have known that this ride was not going to last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an off ramp to go disappear and go do something else. And so, but that falls into the cult of having things, because they know if I show I have a lot of things, people are going to give me money. You know?
Yeah.
So right now I'm talking about pig butchering. Have you heard of that one?
Hmm.
That's that scam where people establish a relationship with you online through a text message or something. And then all of a sudden they start asking for stuff. Oh man, my car broke down. Can you send me X amount of money? Oh man, something happened. I'm going to end up losing my apartment. Can you send me this money? And so they establish fake relationships with people and then bleed them dry over time, which is why it's called pig butchering, because they always leave meat on the bone for you to come back and get more.
Okay.
And a lot of it has to do with that seeking validation online and stuff, because a lot of the people they connect with are lonely. They're looking for a human connection. And as long as they can fake the human connection, they can get whatever they want. And the other side is, saw the expose, a lot of the guys that are doing the pig butchering scams, they ended up getting pulled into like a telemarketing job that didn't turn out to be a telemarketing job. They get there, slapped in a warehouse. Somebody still takes their passport. It says, you're going to sit behind this computer and make these calls. Otherwise you won't eat tonight. And that's what happens. And they were talking about a lot of cats from India was going to Indonesia and getting jammed up like that. Like they're stealing their passports. People would have these things where they actually they had entire stories of escaping these warehouses and stuff. So it's tied to organized crime. Crazy business, bro. So they are victims. They're victims being forced to victimize other people so they could not get beat up that night and have dinner and stuff. So it always goes back to online validation. So
Right.
So that's where I'm at. Possessions is identity. We can jump back a little bit if you want.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. The possessions are identity, and so people end up like they collect experiences and stuff like infinity stones, and a lot of times it's never for like, they be taking vacations in places that they hate just so that they can show that they took a vacation in that place, right? Like if I was choosing a vacation, my wife and I took a working vacation when I was really leaning in on my marketing agency. We took a working vacation out to Vegas to attend a marketing conference. She liked Vegas. When I first got there, I instantly got overwhelmed with all the sounds and all the other stuff. And I'm like, no, this ain't for me.
Right.
I would take her just because she enjoys Vegas, but I understand that that's not for me. But when we got there, I'm walking around Vegas. Now we were in the expensive hotel. Like this thing was in the expensive hotel. It's the one I forget what the name of it is, but we're walking around and has the mall attached to it, and the mall has all the high end like Gucci stores and stuff like that. I've never seen so many sad people in my life. People walking out of that store with $50,000 worth of stuff, with the saddest looks on their faces. They looked miserable. You know, they spent all this money, got these designer shoes and everything, and you just look like, damn, it looked like somebody just ran over your dog, bro. Are you okay? And we were walking around this hotel. Like I'm walking by the high rollers table, kind of looking and seeing like, should I jump in on a game or whatnot? Because I play blackjack every once in a while. Looking at the high rollers table, And these dudes look sad as hell. People winning big, huge amounts of money, they don't look happy at all. And I realized, like, walking around Vegas, all these people have all this disposable income to throw around. I've never seen, like, nobody looks genuinely happy to be here. What is the point? What is the point of coming here, bro? And more times than not is so that they can selfie, put it online. Hey, your boy's outside. Click. And then they turn around, they back to being miserable.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a new thing. I don't know if it's a remix of something that we've experienced before. Maybe it comes from the growing up lifestyles of the rich and famous kind of thing. You're watching that online. I also mentioned being part of that Black excellence group that came when your parents and grandparents were civil rights era, and how hard they pushed you to go out, succeed, and everything. Like, I came from that, and climbing to the top of the corporate ladder by the time I was like 35, 36, and turn around like, this feels empty as hell. I accomplished everything. I spent my entire 20s, like I tell people, I don't have 20s. From 21 up to 35, I was climbing a corporate ladder. Trying to make a name for myself in this industry, in a specific, in this industry or whatnot. And
Right.
when I go back and look at it, like, damn, all the stuff people did in their 20s, I didn't do because I was too busy being an adult and working and stuff. So that's really what this entire crux is, man. The way I put it is trying to win the game of capitalism. So not everybody's caught up, trying to win the game of capitalism. Like, you're gonna win it by having stuff and showing people stuff instead of having things because you enjoy it. So a possession as identity, questions like, am I successful? Am I desirable? Am I respectable? Am I respected? Am I behind? Do people see me as enough? A lot of times this stuff becomes symbols. An item isn't just the item, right? A car is not just the car. I don't have the car because I like it. I have the car because other people like it.
Right.
And that becomes the message. Okay. And then you end up saying, well, I'm doing okay because I have a car that other people like. I may not like it, but other people like it. So that becomes enough. At some point, I feel like you can jump in here. I feel like at some point that ends up becoming kind of a hollow thing where you have stuff that you have stuff because other people like it. And it's not because it necessarily brings you life or joy.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, and so I've taken a couple classes, philosophy and sociology, and they really go hand in hand
Mm-hmm.
together. But in philosophy, they're always asking, what does happiness mean to you? Um, what are you doing? Why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
All all that stuff, and I've always kind of wondered that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really an existential question for me or a philosophical question for me. It's always just been that lingering, eh. But at the same time, this is what we've bought into.
Yeah.
This is what we're subscribed to. So I understand why a person feels like they gotta get out there and go get their money because that's the type of culture that we live in.
Right.
But just because, but look at people that have chased that proverbial ladder only to lose everything that you worked so hard for.
Right.
And the people just want your children don't give two shits about how much money you made. They care about how much time you spent with them.
Right.
So, um, and for me, I could sit here and talk my shit about certain stuff all day long, but I think that we all have certain vices. And my vice is riding motorcycles, reading books, and hanging out with the kiddo.
Yeah.
You know, like those are my vices. I can't tell you whether I'm right or wrong or this and the other. I mean, I just know what feels good for me. And what feels good for you may not necessarily work for me.
Right.
That's what I know.
And I think for me, if I'm doing it to impress you and not for me, that's where we fall into the problem. I see a lot of times, especially when you talk about fatherhood and stuff like that, it gets delicate for some people because brothers are in different situations with dudes may be in different situations with their kids or whatnot. Some may have custody, some may have split custody or whatnot. But I've seen a lot of dudes fall into this trap, the Nick Cannon trap, where Nick
Is
Cannon,
that-
where Nick Cannon from Wild 'N Out and all the other stuff, and Cam Newton does the
I
same
know
thing.
who he is, but what
Yeah.
what I don't
Where
understand the context.
so the Nick Cannon trap or the Cam Newton trap, and this is just my personal thing. They sit around and have all these kids with all these different women, right? And then they'll say, "Well, um, I'm providing for them." Like that's all it takes to raise a kid is providing material things for them. You know, Nick Cannon is like somewhere like 12, 13 kids, right? With all over the country with a bunch of different women. And it's like, okay, you provide materially for them, but are you providing you and access to you one-on-one time as a father? And I would imagine that becomes increasingly difficult as the kids get older and you start having more and more of them, that there's only 24 hours in the day, 7 days in the week, 365 days in a year. Um, there's only a certain amount of time that you can spend with each kid. And so what I think happens is we start replacing the material cost of fatherhood and parenting. We replace that with we say that that's more important than the emotional nurturing side of what being a father actually is. Because it's enough to pay for the roof over their head and stuff, but then also being there helping them figure out what their life is and being there as giving the advice and sometimes being there during the quiet times just to let them know that you're there. um, you miss out on all that stuff when you just fixate on, well, I've given you all of this money and all of these material things. Because that's the piece that they get. That's the piece that money can't necessarily buy. I know it sounds cliche, but that is the component that money can't buy, right? Is being the parent. And it's not just fathers that do it. I've seen moms do it too, where it's just reduced to a number on a piece of paper. You know?
Right.
Um, and so that's kind of where I go with it, where it's like, yeah, the money on the balance sheet, it looks cool, man. Like you spending, you paying child support, that's dope. Or you're going above and beyond and paying all this money for your kids and everything. But are you there for them when they actually need to have somebody to talk to and it doesn't involve money? And so that's the kind of Nick Cannon trap because invariably, and that's one of the things when I talk about Cheyenne Bryant, it does make sense sometimes. When she was on the Cam Newton thing with Cam Newton, she was making a lot of sense. That's how she got a lot of fans. She was making sense. She was saying logical stuff to him. Brother, you making all these broken homes on purpose, and you're not necessarily staying around to be there to be the father in a physical sense. You're one in a material sense, but be the father in an emotional sense is a different thing, you know. And I think oftentimes we associate one with the other one. Little boy Anthony Edwards up in Minnesota, playing for the Timberwolves. I know there's a big thing about him and his baby mama, you know,
What
and
is it?
where he's like, just pay me, how much does it cost?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Basically asking for a number and say, how much does it cost to just pay you so that you won't leave, so you'll leave me alone.
Just leave me alone. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, it's not like I'm empathizing with his thinking. I know where the thinking comes from, if that makes sense. But you pay that toll at some point in time as you get older. I imagine you pay that toll because the kid is your real toll. And at some point, 15, 20 years down the road, you got all the money and everything, and the kid doesn't want to have anything to do with you. And now you go and trying to rebuild something that was never formed in the first place. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And I think we associate material stuff with actual physical and emotional needs. And that ends up becoming a trap, a prison that we build for ourselves.
I agree, man.
So
I agree. I mean,
um
that's just one of those things too, unfortunately.
so but like I said, the message ends up becoming I'm doing okay because I have the things. I'm never losing. I'm not losing out because I have the things. I belong in this room. I'm not far behind. I met a young man who was talking about he felt far behind his peers because his peers are posting all this stuff online in these vacations, and he's out there he's out there doing the hard work and putting money in the bank account and growing that. He's like, "Are you happy?" Yeah, you ain't missing out on a damn thing. Because a lot of people are on vacation miserable, bro. On vacation, they sad on vacation, bro.
Right.
So
No, you're right, man. You're right. So the question is, though, I think is we've stated the issue. So what's the solution to them? You know, we know what the problem is. So what are the solutions to these?
I think the solution to this is balance remaining two. Okay. Um, so I think the solution to this is, um, I don't know, because I think we are so ingrained in the digital life that there's entire, like I said, there's entire generation, and I'm not even saying it's a generational thing because there are dudes at my age that are still doing this, where they're so invested in the digital life where they can't draw the line between this is online and this is real life. I think at some points it is living for what you want in any way that you can. Sometimes you don't have the money to live for what you want. I get that. But you find the pieces of your life that make you happy and don't let go of those.
I agree.
You know, what that looks different for everybody. You
Yeah.
know, you know, some guys, and that's we talk about, people out there living on the streets. Some guys, that's the life they want. They want to just be. They don't want to own, and they just want to drift. There's a
And it
lot of,
works for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
I
van
mean,
life.
you know, here's the thing, though, man. I mean, that's I get that too because my brother did that for years.
Hmm.
He was homeless intentionally. Like, and it wasn't that he had debts and this and the other. He just checked out of society. He was like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to do this. Yeah, I see what you guys are going through. I don't like it.
Hmm.
You know, he was like, I'm good, and he just checked out. You know, now he's living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I think he's a janitor or something like that. Goes into his little apartment, chill, walks out, go gets his food. Just a very simple life, man.
Yeah.
And then my certain people in my family don't understand that. I'm like, no, I get it.
Hmm.
I get it. Like you don't want to you don't want to deal with all this. You don't want to do all this.
Right.
You don't want to be on that proverbial rat race. You understand that there's even if you don't understand what your life is about, you understand that life is more than this.
Yeah.
And if you have to be without order to be with, that is an easy trade off for certain people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it.
You know, I've seen it. It's like, there's sometimes I see people on there like, "Wouldn't you want that?" Like, man, that sounds like a nightmare, bro. Like
Yeah.
that life sound that big money life sounds like an absolute nightmare. You know, for some people that's what they want. For other people that they don't really want that, they like, I see a lot of artists out there that do it. Like they don't necessarily want the fame that comes along with it. They want to share their art and enjoy the lifestyle that and privacy that can buy, but then also being on the big stage and constantly be in front of people. They don't want that side of it. And it's
Hmm.
like, give me the fortune, keep the fame. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Right.
and I think that brings that level of inconsistency. Like, man, here's the thing. I see was a little boy DDG out there, who's a streamer, you know, and on his stream he making anywhere between 30,000 and the 50, it's like 50,000, and uh his biggest month was like a million bucks, right? And all the stuff that was out about him just by proxy of being in a relationship with a celebrity and having a baby with a celebrity, man, it was like, damn, I would not want all these people in my personal life, in my personal sphere, commenting on the relationship that we're having together. Man, that would drive me insane,
Hmm.
you know? And that's always the weird part about live streaming. I'll be on here live streaming at night. I have my group of people that follow and whatnot. And I love, it's cool. I'm cool with them. But then you might have some weird outsider trying to establish some kind of outside rapport or something. I told you about that dude on there demanding that I add him to the voice chat so he can be on my show so I can talk to him. That's weird to me. And I don't want that level of access. But some people are fine with never putting a boundary around it.
Right.
So how do you okay, so I guess the question is how do you make the decision of whether I enjoy this thing or I'm doing this because other people enjoy it? Where does that line how can you tell? Because I think some people genuinely don't know.
So I think that I used to think that I was the biggest fraud, dude. Biggest fraud. And I say that because of my love and my infatuation and my obsession with books,
Mm-hmm.
with reading. Now, I didn't start off that way for the most part. I kind of did a little bit. But I had a friend, and he and his father were very avid readers,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of going out, this dude would be at home reading or something like that. But he was a good looking dude, so he'd go out and meet a chick or two, take her home, do his thing,
Mm-hmm.
get back to his books or whatever, right? And I got tired of asking him certain questions whenever curiosity would pique for me.
Right.
And so one day I just sat down and cracked open a book, and that was kind of it. Um, but then I also remember one night I was standing outside. I'm 21, I think, years old. I have my own apartment. I have a car. I got a job. I'm paying my own bills. And this is before cell phones.
Right.
Well, not before cell phones, but before they are what they are now. And I was just kind of thinking, like, is this all there is? Like, is this it? Eventually, I'll get a girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
end up getting her pregnant, and then she goes to work, I go to work, kid goes to daycare. Is this it? Right? And I
Right.
remember having this conversation, if you will, with God or the universe, the void, whatever. And I'm just like, dude, there gotta be more than this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking, like, please help me. Because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, if this is it, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, man, like I got this, and I always say it, this un, this unscratchable itch for learning.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how it just took off. I went from reading a book every couple years, something like that, to shit, damn near a book a day. And a lot of people, like, when I tell them that, they're like, yeah, I don't believe it. But if you go into my Instagram, I would usually put the dates that I would start the book and end the book,
Uh-huh.
start the book and end the book. There's so many times I would start the book on one that day, finish the book that day, or finish the book the next day because I had other stuff going on. So now with school and all this other stuff or whatever, it takes me a little longer to complete a book,
Mm-hmm.
but I still knock them out fairly quickly.
Okay.
But so to answer your question, something that started off that I just got this thing to be curious.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, let me try this out. And it's one thing when you're doing it in front of other people. And this is where I found that I thought I was a fake because, and I had to ask myself, I'm like, if if you're faking, this is a hell of a fucking fake, bro, because
Right.
you've been doing this for years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you built your own library, literally. So again, if this is a fake, you spent a lot of money on this fake. And not only that, you do it when you're by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You you'll just crack open a book by yourself.
Right.
So I think that you can be inspired by somebody else, I think that you can. I, I see people all day long driving Lexuses and Beamers and Mercedeses.
Mhm.
And back in the day, I used to want those cars. Now I'm good.
Yeah.
If you bought one for me, I'll take it. But I wouldn't go to the bank and tell them I need a loan for this, or I wouldn't let you run my credit for certain. No, I'm good. A Tesla all day, right? You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? But that's me though. So I think to answer your question, I I think that there's a fine line,
Mhm.
but it blurs a lot. And I think that a lot of it is based on not necessarily what made you start,
Mhm.
but what keeps you going.
I like that.
For me,
Yep.
not how did you start, what keeps you going.
I like
I
that.
just bought a goddamn book yesterday. Matter of fact, I bought the same goddamn book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, keep this in your car just in case you ain't got no books. I got a whole like box of books in the back of my car right now. So again, I hear what you're saying, but those lines blur
Yeah.
a lot.
Well,
They blur a lot.
I think you defined it though by it's what you do when it's not online,
Hmm?
right? Like I'll throw my
When you're by yourself.
what you do by yourself. What gives you life when you're not connected? And so here's the thing. When I first met Fearless, my thing is going and helping people. Like I'm big about that. There's a lot of stuff I've done behind the scenes, business owners or people that aren't business owners, where it's just me talking and kind of, hey, this is how I do things, a little bit of guidance. I don't expect anything in return for. And that's actually part of my problem is not expecting anything in return. But we can cross that bridge when we get to it. But that's been the thing is like, you have a problem, let me help you figure it out. Let me help you solve it. You know? And so that's always been my thing. And that's the thing that gives me life. Other side is reading comic books, talking about nerd stuff, like you know, and writing. Like I got so much stuff written that that never sees the light of day. Those are things I do without the internet, without anybody seeing it behind the scenes. And I think maybe that is the line. Would you still be on this vacation if there was no Instagram? Instagram, Facebook, all these other things
Yeah,
didn't exist.
yeah.
Would you still want to go here, or only reason you want to go there is because it looks good on the net? I think maybe that's the line. And if would I still do this if everybody in my life said it was wrong, or everybody in my life said it was stupid? Would I still do the thing? Would it make me happy?
Right.
Maybe that's the orienting piece of it. Like this is a long. The outline for this is long. This is a long conversation. Um,
Right.
but that's kind of. I mean, I like that framing of it. I do it by myself, and it makes my day better. It's something
Mm.
I look forward to, and I don't need anybody to necessarily know about said thing. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily have that. We talk about how people don't have hobbies anymore.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, even right now, like I started riding my motorcycle a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
with a little buddy of mine, and she's man, she bought this bike couple man 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
She's already at 3,000 miles right now.
All right.
I had my bike for 6 years, and I never put that type of mileage
Mm-hmm.
on my bike, which inspired me to start going riding a lot more. And now sometimes and I found that when I get on a bike and I just go riding, that wind therapy helps. And I was talking to her last night when we were out riding, and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I don't even have my music on when I ride. Sometimes I'll just ride in silence and just think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's one of those times where you can really do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and when you're riding on a motorcycle, it gives you a perspective that you'll never get in a car. You'll
Of course.
never get that. You feel everything. You smell everything. You it's something that like unless you're doing it, you'll never know.
Uh,
You'll never know. And so and then I went quite a while without reading a lot, and like it got so bad where I started getting depressed,
mm,
and but I didn't know that's what it was. And once I sat down, cracked open the book, that shit just kind of, you know what I mean. So for me, riding motorcycles, hanging out with the kiddo, sitting down reading my books, like that is what gives. And I just did a paper on it. I'm like, dude, I don't. Dude, give me a glass of water or some zero sugar something and
mm.
put some music on. Give me a couch and a blanket and a pillow. Man, shit. I, oh, man, I don't care when it is. I will sit and I will read for hours by myself.
It's
By myself. Bother nobody.
That's and see, I like that. That's the thing. I'm sitting there thinking about what's that thing for me, and I'm sitting there like, on Memorial Day, I'm out at my cousin's house, got the burgers on the grill. I'm just sitting there watching them sizzle, flipping them over, sitting outside, sitting in the chair, just kind of being out there by the fire, tending to the fire, the little propane thing, so tending to that and cooking. And I'm like, what's relaxing to me? I'm like, shit. I would go buy like if I wanted to relax, I go buy a brisket, trim it up, season it up, throw it on the
Okay.
smoker, and then just
Okay.
the whole process of that. My wife will tell you is like I'll just find reasons to go throw something out on the smoker. I just did a pulled pork just because, like it's sitting in my fridge right now. I just did it because I was like, I want to, I'll get that on the grill. And so I think a lot of people don't have that. Like I said, for me, it's that comic books. I even like the live streaming thing. Like the Tuesday night, I tell people that's my outlet. That's where I can kind of relax a little bit, and talk a little bit more freely and interact with people. And I've tried to structure it a little bit more, but I'm having a hard time because I'm enjoying it so much that I'm like, I don't, I told somebody straight up, like, this for me. I don't care if you like this. Somebody got on there talking to them like, this is for me. I don't care if you like this.
Mhm.
And so, but I do think maybe that goes into the bigger conversation of why don't people have hobbies anymore? And maybe it's not just a money thing. Like you don't have interests that don't cost money. You have things that just relax you or things you do in your downtime. I wonder about that. And, I wonder what kind of life that is. Sometimes I look at my son and daughter. My son has his music. If nobody is paying him any attention, he'd be up there in his computer on his little MPC, MPK, making beats and listening to music and stuff. My daughter likes to draw. Nobody paid her; she would be doing that.
Mhm.
And I think there's something to be said about it, especially in this hustle culture world where we try to monetize every interest that we have. Sometimes you can do it, like Stephen King monetized his obsession with writing, right? But then he picked up other things in his pastime, like all the drug use, and then he started walking and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, and so that's something that shifted. His passion ended up becoming what paid the bills. I think you can do it, but you have to find something else that's not tied to the money thing for the money incentive. So I know I'm kind of
Mhm.
getting far astray, man. So,
No, it's fine.
um,
It's fine. I mean, but again, though, but that within itself is that's the solution. Like again, the cult of having things, validation, comparison, the internet's version of success. We're asking you, what is your
yeah,
version of success? We're asking you, what are those things that give you validation? That that again, you do this for free. You know what I'm saying? Like reading some of the books that I read, I do it for free.
right.
But I also understand what it does for me. It allows me to have different conversations with anybody. I could talk to anybody about anything, even if I don't know about the subject.
Right.
Why? Because I'm inquisitive. I'm going to ask you questions. I don't know. I know that I don't know shit.
Hmm.
I want to know what you know. I want to learn something.
So I realized because I kind of had an epiphany while you're talking. When you know how I was about the weights, and that's always been my fallback thing. Like if I'm out of the gym for a while, I get back in there, it just completely relaxed, and I'm locked in for the next 6 to 8 months until I hurt myself or do something stupid, and I gotta force myself out. But one thing I realized this last cycle, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start documenting this, kind of showing my journey to wanting to try to compete in powerlifting." As soon as I start bringing that camera and wanting to record stuff, I stop wanting to go.
Oh, because your intention and your reason changed.
Yep. And I'm trying to get that back because I'm like I'm getting back in the gym once my son gets done with this thing of weights. He's gonna start going with me in the mornings, and I'm like I'm not taking the camera. I'm not documenting this. I'm not logging this anymore. I may post like if I get a PR or something on a deadlift or something, I may post that just to record it. But this entire because I see people set up entire camera kits and tripods and stuff at the gym and stuff. Um, I don't want to become one of the people. I tried doing it with a wearable camera. I'm like, this is too much of a pain in the ass to be doing all this. I just want to lift the weights and leave. I don't want to set up and frame and set the camera up and do X, Y, and Z and then do a voiceover afterwards and stuff like that. I don't want to do all that. And as soon as I start bringing the camera, I'm like, I don't want to do this no more.
Hmm.
And so that's a hard line I got to draw in the sand for myself. But you saying that and talking about that just brought that to my mind. I was able
Yeah.
to connect the two things. So all right, I have a child I have to go retrieve.
Yep.
Um,
And I gotta. Yeah, I still gotta go take my other bike in. So
all right,
yeah.
so guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me talk about having things. We'll pick this conversation up a little bit later on,
Yeah, I
guys.
like that. I like this conversation.
So we'll pick this up.
What's up?
Start watching for Spotify. Channel's almost ready. We're ready to rock and roll.
Hmm.
Got a couple of things I need to take care of on that end, matter of fact. But yeah, that's all I got. I will. It's Bryon.
Fearless.
Talk to y'all later.
All
Peace.
right.